Vaisesikha Prabhu is about to join us. I just had a talk with her wife. He's
Mataji, Prabhuji has joined.
just a minute.
Please make him co-host, Mataji.
I'll just do that. Because I can't. 1 minute.
Mataji, his camera is off. Yes.
Okay. I can't find Mara. Done with Brahma. Can you hear me? Where is it? Yes. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear you.
We welcome you. Glories to His Grace, Vaisesikha Prabhu. He is joining us from San Jose. So we welcome him. He's Prabhupada disciple, a very बहुत ही विशिष्ट disciple है. He's a very dear disciple of Prabhupada who's doing the book distribution. He's the biggest book distributor here with us. So we welcome you, Prabhuji. That is, my group is all waiting for you to join us. And please, we welcome you. Accept our humble obeisances. All glories to you. All glories to your services. Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you for such a warm welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you. And I pray to Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas to empower us all. And I offer my obeisances to the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpataruscha kripasindhame vacha patitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And Radhika Kripa Devi, if you wouldn't mind just giving me a brief summary of your group and who's assembled here today and what your mission and vision is.
Yes, Prabhuji. We started in COVID online preaching. Guru Maharaj had told me to be an international preacher way back in 2003. So I was traveling and preaching at that time, going to Australia and other places in Canada and all. But then COVID came and I could not reach, I couldn't travel and preach. So I took my permission from my Guru Maharaj and I started online preaching. So with his blessings, I started online, and it was very first embarrassing for me to join in online because I could see nobody on the screens, but I had just to speak. But then gradually, many of them joined me. There were around about 600 to 700 would come and attend the sessions. And out of them, many became very sincere, and they are still continuing with us. And we have a group more than 1,500 now in WhatsApp, and around about 15,000 more followers all over on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere. So we have a book distribution, as Guru Maharaj told me in 2020 to do the book distribution first time, the marathon. When the Bhagavatam marathon first time it came up for us, he called me up and he said, you have a large group online. I want to see how many Bhagavatams you do. I give you a target of 1,000 Bhagavatam sets at that time he gave me. So, but we could do only 425, and then the Bhagavad Gita marathon also online. And we do all morning program at 5 o'clock every day in the morning. We start. It's been officially more than 1,300 days now. So every day in the morning, Indian IST time, that is 5 a.m. after Mangal Aarti online, everybody joins in here. We do chanting of 8 rounds, and then we do whole morning program like Guru Vashtakam, Prabhupada quote, then Tulsi Aarti, and then Shikshashtakam. Then we do a small video from Prabhupada, and Leelamrit we read every day. 2 pages of Leelamrit we read, Prabhupada Leelamrit every day. And by 6:30, 6:45, we end the session. And then everybody continues with their the other 8 rounds. And then we meet again sometimes it's almost every day, 5:30 in the evening again on a YouTube channel. I give a discourse on Bhagavad Gita on my Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. And then we have Zoom sessions in the evening also sometimes. We're doing sessions from Bhagavatam because the glories of Bhagavatam, they should know. So we do Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrit, Kirtan classes. We have a school as well, Peace Food Activity School. Every Saturday we run that. And we have a faculty of, you will be watching everybody on the screen. They are from different parts of the world and India. So we have from, even from your US also, we have some devotees from Canada, from Jaipur, from Chennai, from Mauritius. So they all join in, and we do all the sessions. Some of them are in the faculty as well for the Peace Food Activity School. So we have more than like 70, 80 students in Peace Food Activity School. And that's been continuing for the last 3 years again, 3 to 4 years, it's been there now. So we do all the book distribution. This year we did, with Guru Maharaj Mercy, we did 800 Bhagavatam sets. And right now, the Bhagavad Gita, we have done around about 11,000, more than 10,000 Bhagavad Gitas we have done till now. And our aim is 21,000 Bhagavad Gitas. So bless us. We have invited you to share your blessings so that we can achieve our targets and your mercy.
Wow, that's quite impressive. It's a veritable virtual Sankirtan party from all over the world, and you're following the footsteps of your Guru Maharaj very expertly.
Thank you.
And, well, regarding book distribution, I saw that Prabhupada was very inclusive. He especially in Los Angeles, although I was stationed in San Francisco, California, I had a lot of times when I went to Los Angeles to see Srila Prabhupada, and we had, of course, a lot of communication because we're both temples were in California. And it's well known. I even wrote about it in a book I wrote about book distribution a few years ago. Especially Prabhupada encouraged his Vaishnavi disciples to go on book distribution. He gave special attention to them and appreciated their tenacity in going out to meet people and distribute books to them. He would sometimes, when seeing them come back from Sankirtan, invite them to come in his room and ask them what it was like and what people were saying. And there were times also when Prabhupada would notice the book distributors especially. I was in Chicago several times in the airport when we were distributing there, when Prabhupada would fly in to visit the community, and he would always stop to watch the book distributors. And there were other incidents too. Washington, D.C., when we had come back from the airport and Harisari had noticed it, Prabhupada invited the team, just a few devotees. We were coming back late, and he invited the devotees into his room. And again, he wanted to hear what were people saying and what were you telling them. And in that particular instance, one of my godbrothers had told Prabhupada that he had met a military man, and he showed him the Bhagavad Gita and told him, see, this is also a military man, Arjuna. And this was an instruction that took place on a battlefield. And Prabhupada appreciated that kind of customized preaching, being able to meet somebody, to size them up, and to be able to present to them in such a way that they would be attracted. And in the time that, when I joined the movement in 1973, there was a big spike in book distribution at that time. The devotees had discovered how to distribute big books. Before that, it wasn't as prevalent. There were more Back to Godhead magazines and smaller books. But then a revolution took place around that time, and it caught on. More and more devotees were distributing books. Prabhupada used to prioritize going to the temples where the devotees were distributing more books. Wherever devotees were prioritizing book distribution and distributing more books, he would prioritize visiting those places. In fact, he said it, and you'll find it in the record of his letters where he mentioned that. And he especially liked to hear about what he would make this mudra, big books. Because in one place in Florida, they were doing thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of Back to Godhead magazines. And on the way to the temple, when the devotees were informing him about that, Prabhupada said, and how many big books? He liked to hear those scores, as you've all probably heard before. And if you trace back Prabhupada's connection to book distribution, it was what his spiritual master told him. His spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, had emphasized book distribution and had brought printing presses from the West. They were from Cleveland, Ohio, in America, the best of what you could get in the world at that time. It must have been extremely expensive, not just to buy them, but also to ship them all the way to Calcutta. And he would, as Prabhupada told us, his spiritual master would also take account of the devotees going out for book distribution. And he would glorify, as Prabhupada told us, even the most insignificant brahmachari who had gone out and sold a 2 paisa magazine. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would bring attention to that, to the group, and say, he has done something significant. He has sold a book. And he had seen that the way that ideologies get rooted in society around the world was through literature. And he saw other organizations that had been very successful in printing books, not the least of which are the Christians, who actually invented the printing press. The Gutenberg printing press was the first printing press that could do volume. It was only about 14 books at a time, but that was it was a quantum leap over what people used to do to get books published. And then the Royal Bible Society after that had made even bigger strides. But the original printing presses in the world, the technology came from Christians who wanted to increase the distribution of Bibles, and you can trace it to how Christianity increased in many places around the world, who were recipients of the many books that were going out. Same with the Protestants. There were publications from them also. Well, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was eager to he prioritized preaching, and that was a high sadhana. In fact, on his logo for the Gaudiya Mat, if you've seen it, or maybe you haven't seen it, it's a good to look at. It tells a little bit about our legacy. But he had included on the logo, which has a lot of elements on it, but one of the elements is a printing press. And above the printing press, interestingly, he included the words Rag Marg, so the path of spontaneous devotional service. And this was deliberate in that the mood of the spiritual world, and as Prabhupada confirmed, the mood of the gopis even, is to bring people to Krishna. And as far as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada were concerned, this was the most effective way to bring people directly to Krishna, or Krishna directly to the people. And what's more, as a highly effective means for inculcating Krishna consciousness into the society at large, and even, as Prabhupada mentioned several times, saving the world by mass distribution of literature. And of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur passed this on very deliberately to his disciple Abhay Charanaravinda, who became our founder Acharya and the great famous world Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Even at Radhakund, when Prabhupada had a personal audience with his guru and asked him what he could do as a grihastha, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had told him that if he ever get money, print books. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, had been disappointed to some degree with the construction of very expensive, opulent temple in Calcutta, Bagh Bazar. And he noticed that with the inauguration of that temple, some of the spirit of preaching, which had been more prominent at Ultadanga Junction Road, which was a simpler dwelling and somewhat austere, and he was not impressed with the marble. In fact, he said, because it's diminished our preaching spirit, I would prefer to take the marble from this temple, sell it, and purchase some books, print some books for distribution. So Prabhupada came to America with that mood, and I can tell you in the 1970s, again, I joined in summer of 1973, and the mood was prevalent, and it wasn't by accident. It was engineered by Prabhupada. He had got it from his guru directly. After all, if you trace back further, when Prabhupada first got to America, there was very little money. Nobody, no, nobody professional joined the movement except for His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Was the only one really working with a corporate job. Nowadays, everybody has a corporate job, but it was a very different scene back then. A lot of college students and others had come and they really didn't have means. They were selling back to Godhead magazines and so forth. But the first accumulation of money that the devotees were able to put together in America, of where the movement started, of course, Prabhupada used to buy a house on Beacon Street in Boston. He had Narayan Prabhu fly out there and reconstruct the floor just so he could move a printing press into the building. And the floor had to support it. And he started printing books. So he actually followed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's admonition that if you ever get money, print books perfectly, because that's the first time he had money. And the first money he got, he used it to print books. And then, of course, as he looked for the most efficient ways to print books, he had started the press in New York and had ISKCON Press. And then he got word that the printing in Japan was much cheaper. So he went to Dai Nippon. It's a company that's still there. We drive by it when I'm in Tokyo.
Yes.
And Prabhupada made huge contracts with them because at that time, devotees were distributing millions of Back to Godhead magazines, and they were putting in orders. Prabhupada was putting in orders for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of books from Dai Nippon. So they could see the benefit of signing contracts with Prabhupada. And they gave him concessions. Prabhupada was a shrewd a business person. He knew how to make deals. He had, after all, had his own company. But now he was following his guru, and very specifically, he was making deals to print more and more books. And meanwhile, he was pushing his disciples more and more into this mood of distributing books as much as possible and innovating. And frankly, back then, all these innovations in book distribution took place by devotees sincerely trying, and then there were breakthroughs that happened. I was with the Sankirtan team that in 1975, we met with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, and he had asked us to train other devotees how to distribute books. We had a party of 25 brahmacharis. Actually, there were a couple women on the party also. And when we went there to ask Prabhupada how we should train people, Prabhupada said this. He said, teach them to be sincere.
Yeah.
Because if anyone is sincere and they try, he said, then the master, and he took his hand and he went like this. He said, the master within their heart will show them how to do it. And then he said, every devotee has his or her own genius of how to do this service. And if they're sincere and they try, then they'll discover that genius. And you may have seen that in your esteemed, august congregation that you have here, that I'm feeling the energy of just being on this call. I'm feeling being elevated because of the spiritual power and because of your leadership. There's a way that you'll notice that devotees who are seemingly inept at doing things like going out and selling books, when they're sincere and they try, then suddenly they get empowered. And you might think, like, that person? How are they distributing books? They barely ever ask a question in class, or they don't seem like the type, but it's not a material consideration. It's completely transcendental. I remember seeing devotees come onto the party or in other places in temples where we went, where they were very soft-spoken. You could barely understand what they were saying because they mumbled. And then next thing, we'd see them over just selling books. And I see newcomers all the time that we take out. And because they just try sincerely, and they have all these breakthroughs that are sometimes more in volume than what people have done before. So setting goals for book distribution is something Prabhupada did. He was very interested in the numbers. He wanted to see the numbers, and book distribution lends to that very well. And it's helpful to set goals and then try to meet them. Because when you do, as you set the goal, you think, oh, how will this ever happen? And then when it happens, then you realize it wasn't us, it was Lord Chaitanya that made the arrangements. And even the next year, when you set the goal, you might think, oh, we can't do it again this year. There were special circumstances last year. But then you do it again, and then you realize again, oh, it was Lord Chaitanya's arrangement to do this. It's not an ordinary activity. It's completely transcendental. And one other instruction Prabhupada gave us was to read his books. I was there in 1974 in San Francisco, and we were on a small Sankirtan team, albeit it was the best Sankirtan team. San Francisco was the biggest distribution center in America. That means in the world also at that time. So Prabhupada used to come there a lot. And we did our Sankirtan team in Prabhupada's room. And when the temple president read the score, Prabhupada didn't comment on that at all this time. He looked at us very sternly and he said, "You must also read my books." He said, "I have not written them just for selling. I've written them for you to read, become pure devotees, and go back to Godhead." And I took it at that time that this was so important to Prabhupada, and I saw that there was so much of a push on to always be out, always be out, always be out, that sometimes devotees weren't reading. And I felt that I could take liberties to take time to read. And I was fortunate to be on a party where we emphasized reading also, because Prabhupada wanted both things together, distributing the books and reading them. And I conceptualize this as a super spiritual diet. And I wrote in my book that I wrote in 2017, Our Family Business. It's about book distribution, that something I read in the Jamuna's cookbook. You may have seen it's an encyclopedic cookbook on various recipes. And she writes in the section on rice, I forget what page it's on, but all about rice. And there's a preamble in which she said, rice is a good food, dal is a good food, but when you put them together, you get 42% more nutrition because of the synergy of the two. And the way I see it, distribution is a very high activity. Studying the books is a very high activity, but when you put them together and you have a balance of these things in your life, then you have what I call super sadhana. And book distribution is not just a sales endeavor.
Yes.
It's a transcendental activity. So what you're doing there, I see, and from what I'm hearing of your program, this is the ideal place to be. Prabhupada told us once that the safest place in the universe is to be on the Sankirtan party. And you've got it all going on. You have got your bhajan going very strongly, hearing, chanting, participating, and you're all, as far as I've understood, book distributors. I would highly suggest leaning into that program for the rest of your life, because it's the best place to be. And I'm really grateful that you're doing it in such a coordinated way. And Radhika Kripa, thank you very much for what you're doing in setting an example with such vigor to carry on the Sankirtan movement as a leader and a Vaishnavi leader, very powerful. And I pray, as you said, please give some blessing in the beginning. What I'll just say, I'll give a blessing, and if I ever become a Vaishnav, May my blessing come true in your lives. But my blessing is that you always have association with one another in the mood of humble service to the Sankirtan movement, that you always have opportunity to hear and chant together, and that you always feel uh, an eagerness to give people the opportunity to take these transcendental literatures that Prabhupada has provided. And may you smash all of your goals. And may you always be healthy, happy, have the opportunity to bathe in all the holy kunds in the world, and may have unlimited resources to expand your service. May Krishna give you friendship with all the Vaishnavas around the world, and may you always have compassion in your heart for all conditioned souls.
Thank you
Om
so
Tat
much.
Sat.
Thank you so much, Raj. Um, my husband is also here. He wanted to invite you for the Rohini that you missed this time when you were here. So he wanted you to invite again whenever you're in Delhi. Again, you're please most welcome to come to the Rohini temple. He made the temples and we got the service from Guru Maharaj to make the builder temples. He got that service. Guru Maharaj assigned him the Bahadurgarh temple to make. Then he made the Faridabad. Many 6, 7 temples that have come up in Delhi recently. So latest one is the Rohini he made.
That's
So
amazing. I've
yeah,
heard wonderful things about it. And
yes, that
you're
is
the you're one of the famous power couples of
very
the
well.
International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And it just shows you what one person or two people together, what grihastas can do together, vanaprasthas, just unlimited service. It's really about giving our heart and soul to the order, just like Prabhupada said. He gave his heart and soul to the order of his spiritual master, and he said, I wasn't doing it. It was coming through the divine order.
Yes, it's all Guru Maharaj's blessings because he asked me so many years back when I joined. I'm a fashion designer by profession. When I joined in ISKCON, I was doing my fashion business. But then I became a devotee and Guru Maharaj asked me to preach and then I started giving lectures and traveling. Thank you so much, Maharaj, giving your time to us and blessing us. We really are very grateful to you. I'm much obliged and full of gratitude. So may all your blessings, we may be able to achieve our targets this year. We really feel, I think so. The group is enthusiastic. Would you like to take any question or you have another assignment now?
Oh, I could take a couple questions.
Okay. Who wants to in our group? Let me put it in the gallery view. Yes. Who would like to ask? Please raise your hand. Priyanka Mataji, unmute her.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, my question is like, as you said, that we have to read Prabhupada books and then we have to distribute. It's a perfect diet for us. But when we associate with a new neophyte devotee or a person whom we want to preach, then in that scenario, how like he's not very eager to read the books. Then in that scenario, how we have to preach that person that you should come forward for the book distribution. What sort of like insights we should give to that person that we have to distribute the books, then only we can get the mercy. How we have to start with a neophyte person. That's my question, Prabhuji.
I understand. Yeah, so I've found that people who come to Krishna consciousness can also distribute books when they're new. And a lot of it has to do with the way we introduce it. And for newer people, we have organized systems so that they go out in groups and they don't go out for very long to start with. And I don't emphasize that they sell any books. I just want them to feel what it's like to go out. And there's a challenge in walking out the door because there's a sense of what will happen when I go out. Will I be rejected and so forth? So what I ask the groups to do is to just touch the pavement at your spot and take a picture. And after that, you're done. Then if you do anything, it's extra. So I keep it simple. And also I make sure afterwards, for the people who are new, there's a time when they can all sit together and talk about what they experienced. And we also have very nice prasadam for them. The key word is pizza, because when you say pizza, everyone says, okay, I'll go. Thank you for your question.
Unmute Vinny Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of our group, Peace Food Devotional Group, Prabhuji. Thank you for your association. My only question is, when we talk to the people who are neophytes or who are new in bhakti, they always say that every few months you come up with one or the other marathon. So how do we convince them that that is for their benefit? And how do we make a positive influence on them and they come ahead with the distribution without any negative thought or any pressure?
Just what I said, the last thing I said. I think it was a similar question and similar answer. I emphasize fun and make it fun for everybody. And when they get an experience, I find that there's a spiritual energy that people feel when they're able to go out with a group and participate in whatever way they can. I offer people various types of service. They can either support the group or they can help transport devotees. And if they just participate a little bit, they start picking up on the energy and they like it. And I also don't push people out the door, but we talk about book distribution, and we emphasize it as well as sadhana. And the ones who hear it for some time and then they have a safe environment where they can come out, they'll participate to some degree. And many of them then feel the energy and they'll want to participate more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. We thank you very much for joining us. We are very grateful to you that you took out your precious time to be with this insignificant group we have just in India. So thank you so much, Raj, and hope to look forward to have your association again and again. If you could. And yesterday I narrated them how you became a devotee. I narrated your life story to them, all of them we had in the session. And they were very much impressed by how you were a student and then you were inquisitive and you would chat with your closed door, and your friend got a Back to Godhead magazine, and how you became a devotee with a magazine. So that's what I'm telling them. Book distribution has so much effect that we have such a pure Vaishnava with us, and who joined way back in 1973 as a monk. So that is how the story is that I was telling them all about you. So they are very much in awe and reverence, and they really, they were happy to have you here. And I know all of them were very much enthusiastic about the book distribution, and you really helped them a lot. Thank you so much for being with us. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada.
I'm very, very grateful, and I'll never forget this opportunity that I got to join with your amazing group. Please keep up the great work. Vanchakalptaruscha kripasubheva patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo. And may you beat Mayapur. Hare Krishna.
That is, thank you. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. So, Hare Krishna, everybody. So that was Prabhuji from San Jose. Actually, some people get confused to call him Maharaj or Prabhuji. He does give, he with his wife is a initiating guru as well in America. So, but initiating gurus in America, in every, like in ISKCON, they are actually addressed as Prabhu only. So that's why sometimes the confusion arises. So hopefully aap sabko acha laga, but I think so. It was totally in English, and our accent was not that Americanized, but thoda slow hi bol rahe the wo. So maybe everybody got it, got the message. So he was telling how Prabhupada ने कैसे उन्होंने किया और कैसे मूवमेंट शुरू हुई, कैसे प्रिंटिंग प्रेस लगा और कैसे प्रभुपाद सिर्फ नंबर्स देखते थे, कितने नंबर्स हैं. सो इट डजंट मीन के सेलिंग इज सिर्फ सेलिंग. और एक बात और उन्होंने कौन सी दो चीजें की, हु विल टेल मी टू थिंग्स ही सेड, लाइक यमुना माता जी का एग्जांपल दिया दाल और चावल का. तो दो चीजें और क्या बोली उन्होंने. आनंद गोपीनाथ प्रभु रेजेस हैंड, अनम्यूट हिम.
हरे कृष्णा माता जी,
हरे
धन्यवाद।
कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
प्रभु जी, दो बातें कही है माता जी। पहले तो बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करो, उससे पहले आप पढ़ो, मतलब
हाँ,
रीड एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट द बुक्स।
read and you should know also what you are study and then distribute. तो स्टडी भी साथ में है डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन के साथ। तो हम डिस्ट्रीब्यूट तो एंथुजियाज्म के साथ करें, पर स्टडी भी साथ करना है। तो इसीलिए जो जनवरी में सेशन होने जा रहा है, वी मस्ट डू इट। दैट्स व्हाट गुरु महाराज ऑलवेज वांटेड अस टू स्टडी आल्सो। तो एंड देखो, उन्होंने बताया कि गुरु महाराज जी एक सबसे पहले डिसाइपल थे प्रभुपाद के, जो कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर में थे। The first only foremost disciple of Prabhupada, who was so educated and from a corporate sector. So Guru Maharaj की जो ability थी for the what MBA he had done, उन्होंने वो सारी ability अपनी यहाँ लगाई in ISKCON, the distribution of the books. He is known all over the world, and we are connected to such a spiritual master. So उनकी कृपा से हम सब भी कर पा रहे हैं, और ये पूरी दुनिया में सब जानते हैं। So we are very fortunate. हमारा एम ये नहीं है कि हमें सब जाने, हमारा एम है कि हम अपने गुरु महाराज की सेवा कर सकें। हमारा एम वो है। हम अपने एम से ना भटके, लक्ष्य से ना भटके, और लक्ष्य यही है कि हम गुरु महाराज की सेवा कर सकें, और वो सेवा सिर्फ बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन से होती है, और कोई रास्ता ही नहीं है। टू स्टडी एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूट, तो दोनों हैंड इन हैंड चलेगा। सो थैंक यू एवरीबडी। किसी का कोई प्रश्न है तो पूछ सकते हैं। वील एंड द सेशन नाउ। आई नो इट्स अ लॉन्ग सेशन, आप सुबह से जुड़े हुए हैं सब। So thank you, everybody. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Don't forget the marathon. Don't forget the enrollment for the Bhagavatam session, study session. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavad Gita marathon ki jai. God Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.